Hi, welcome to my channel. I've lost 180 pounds with keto, carnivore, and counting calories. Don't forget to check the description to this video. I have links to some of my popular videos, a link to my Amazon account for a lot of things that you all ask about. Don't forget I have a bunch of playlists on the homepage of this channel. Thank you. Okay, y'all, bear with me. It's been a long time since I've stripped a cast iron skillet. I have done various methods. I've used the easy off oven spray method. I have used the vinegar, soaking it in vinegar method. I have not used the one method where they use some kind of electrolysis stuff. But we are going to do the grill method. So let's go out and heat up my grill. Okay, I got the grill lit. We learned our lesson last time. Well, that don't work. Okay. It's rolling pretty good. I'm going to turn the temp down just a little bit. And here's the skillet. We're going to set it, we'll set it face up for now. And then we'll come back in a little while. Sometimes it's taken a couple hours. But again, it's been a long time, so we'll see. Okay. All right, let's come check it out, see how it's doing. I did come out once and flipped it. It's been 30 minutes. Can I rub it? No, there's nothing left on it. It's getting pretty down to the bare. Come on, fella. Get it to flip. See the ashes coming off of it. Okay. I think, yeah, it's down to just bare metal. So I'm going to turn off the grill. And then I'm going to turn everything off, and we're going to let it cool down before we take it inside. So actually, I brought it in to let it cool down because it's stinking hot outside. It's never going to cool down. So the rest of that, I think I can scrub off in a little bit. But I just got to let it cool down, and then we'll get to scrubbing. Okay, I'm not saying this is the right way. I'm just saying this is how I do it. So, got the skillet pretty bare. Most of the stuff is burned off of it. Now I want to scrub the rest of it out. See, it's got some rust on it and all that stuff. So now we're going to scrub it all out. So we're going to get some good old water. I'm going to rinse it off, and because we've taken it back down to just plain old iron without any seasoning. And I have a SOS pad here. I'm just going to scrub it. Scrub it and scrub it and scrub it. Make sure I get over every surface and make sure I get the handle clean real good. And the outer edges real good. You're not trying to smooth it or anything, because that's, you know, whatever texture is in the iron. So you're just wanting to get off any extra rust that you can, any extra old soot that you can. Because a lot of cast irons, it's like old baked on food. I know a lot. Now, okay, this is my opinion, y'all. This is my opinion. Some people will say that they think that the seasoning is all the built up food that has been cooked in there and cooked in there. And that may be the case, but my opinion is that the seasoning is what we put onto it after we strip it down. And yeah, I mean, again, being used over time, yes, that definitely creates more seasoning. But not that old buildup that's on it when you first get an old one from from your grandma's house, or, you know, some of them have been used and they got all that old junk down in there. All that old blackened soot on there, and that's more than what you want. So now I've got this clean. And now I'm going to wipe it down. Each cast iron skillet you have has its own characteristics. And I think this one, I have not had one like this before. If you look on the, hang on, let me dry it off a little better. If you look on the inside, you can see, hang on, let me see if I can angle it just right. There's circles there, right there. See, there's like circles. So this had a thing that went through it to create that texture. I don't know if it was when they created it or after somebody bought it, if they did that, but I don't think I have one like that. So now I've cleaned it out and I've got all the rust out of it, and there's still some water spots. So we are going to move to my oven. And what I do, I put this in my oven at 350 degrees for about 10-15 minutes. But I start it from scratch. So my oven is not preheated. So I'm putting this in a cold oven. Take these off. And the reason why I'm doing that, hang on, 350. Hey Ziggy, timer, 15 minutes.
Second timer, 15 minutes, starting now.
So the reason why, I'm not trying to, like, you know, get it scalding hot. I'm trying to dry it off. So that way whenever I add my tallow, when it's hot, it opens up the pores of your skillet. And so right now I'm just trying to get all that moisture out and open up the pores all at the same time. So, and because you don't want to put a tallow on a wet skillet, because then it's gonna, you know, make it rust. So we're trying to prevent the rust by drying it out thoroughly. Sometimes I've done this step right here 2, 3, 4 times until it gets the way I want it. So, but anyway, so I put it in a cold oven for about 15 minutes, starting at 350, and I'll be back here in 15 minutes. So my tallow was frozen, and so I had to scrape some out just to get some tallow. So now I've got this heated up, and we're gonna add some of this tallow to it. There's different, you know, some people use bacon grease. Hang on. Get in there, fella. Some people use, I think grapeseed oil is one that people use. There's all different kinds of oils you can use. You can use grapeseed oil. I think some people use bacon grease, but in the past when I tried it, it did not go good for me. I don't remember why. I just didn't like how it worked. So now you are just spreading this around in a super duper thin layer. You are not trying to make some thick, gunky something. You're just doing a thin layer. You want to make sure you get the handle as well. Get that handle, get in and out of the grooves. All of the grooves, you're trying to get it all. Now there are some people who I watch who said you do not want a regular plain paper towel. Some people say you should have a shop towel like these because they do not have like residue on them. Especially if it's a textured skillet, because if it's textured, it can cause the paper towel to break apart and get little flecks of paper towel in your seasoning. Obviously, you see I use it some. And but now I'm using this one just to kind of dust it all out. Some people only use a cloth. So that amount is all I did, and I've wiped it around really good. You see, I'm not trying to build it up thick. Just a little, just a light coating. So now we're going to bring the oven up to 400. think it's 1 hour. I can't remember. So we'll do it for an hour and I'll be back. Now, and listen, y'all, whether I do 10 minutes or 15 minutes on this part, I don't know. I forgot to tell you, after you put the oil on it, I always put it in the oven. I say always. From what I remember, I put it in the oven at 400. I started it and I set a timer immediately for, this time I did 15 minutes. And then I'm going to come in, I'm going to wipe that excess oil off. Because you don't want it to be too much on there. So I found a towel that I used to use and I forgot about it. So now, there's not going to be any, if you get too much in there, it'll get sticky and tacky. And that's not at all what we want. So now I'm going to put it back in here. And we're going to set it for 1 hour. Okay, the skillet is down to room temperature. And it's, well, okay, it's still a little bit warm. But it's already starting to look better. It's less, some rust on the bottom, of course, but it's already starting to look better. It's a 10.5-inch skillet. Looks like there's a stamp of something up there. I just don't know what it is. So we're going to start the process over again. Put it in the oven. 350. Ziggy. Timer. 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
I'm not washing it, but I'm still heating it up to open up those pores for 15 minutes. And then we'll add in our seasoning again. This is round number 2. So we are down to pulling it out. It's been in the oven at 350 for 15 minutes. I have my homemade tallow. I'm going to pull some out. That's too much. And I need to grab some paper towel. Your skillet is going to be hot, so be careful. So make sure you get it all over the inside and the outside. You're just wanting it to have a light coating of oil. You're not trying to drown it. I don't know if you remember how black it was before, how red and yucky it was the last time I did it. But it's definitely less. You can see what I hear is right. It does, paper towel does come apart a little bit in more textured skillets. So let's go back to my real towel. Let's get all that rubbed around real good. Spot up there. Okay. So I'm pretty good. I feel like that's good. So we're going to put it back in the oven. And we're going to set the oven to 400. Ziggy, timer, 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
And in 15 minutes, we'll come back and rub it down one more time to make sure we got all the excess oil off. Okay. It's been 15 minutes. Just wiping it all the way out, making sure there's nothing, no remnants left behind. You don't want there to be any pools of sticky fluid. I'm going to wipe it out real good. Then I'm going to put it back in there for 1 hour. And then when that hour's up, I'm going to turn it off and let it come back to room temperature. Because it is so late at night, 5 o'clock, this will be the last one. I might do another round tomorrow. Depends on what time I get home from church with Mom. But yeah, so that's the process. And I'll show you as it gets a little further. Let's do our third and maybe final round of this cast iron skillet. It's looking so pretty. I just wanted just a little, I just want another seasoning. Oven to 350. Just put it in there. You're heating it up to open the pores so it will absorb the oil. So we're going to put it in. Ziggy, timer, 15 minutes. And I'll be back. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. Let's pull our skillet out of the oven. And we're going to go on and put some tallow. I made my own tallow. You can use things like grapeseed oil. I don't know what all I've used, but anyway, this is tallow. This is homemade tallow. So, flaxseed. I think flaxseed. You want something that's got a high burning point because you got to get, I'm putting this in pretty high temperature. So, I'm just going to take this rag. I'm kind of running around. Actually, no, this first time I'm going to get some paper towels. I'll work those little white pieces out later. So we're just trying to melt them. And we're just going to run this paper towel around it. Just trying to smear that tallow all over so we can get it all over because you're wanting to season it. So you want it to have that pretty shine that you want it to have. And then don't forget the handle. And after you do it, you want to run your thing through it. Make sure you get out all the excess. And we're going to double check that we got the excess out in 15 more minutes. Look, I probably do it sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes. I don't know if that part matters. But that's what I'm telling you this time around. Now we're putting it on 400. I'm putting it back in the oven. Ziggy, skillet timer, 15 minutes.
Skillet timer, 15 minutes.
All right, see y'all in 15 minutes. Okay, so now this is the last time, and I'm going to get all of the excess oil off of it. Because you're not trying to make a pool of oil. You just want to get it lightly coated. And then this towel will hopefully get out any of the left on paper towels. Wipe off that handle. All right. I put it back in the oven. Ziggy, oven timer, 1 hour. So it's back in the oven for an hour. I come turn it off and just let it cool down together. I'll leave it alone. And in the morning, I will be able to use it. It was the third time. My timer just went off. It's been an hour. So I'm literally just going to say clear. And I'll leave it closed and we'll mess around with it tomorrow. This will be the third round. And I just let it cool down on its own. No sense opening a hot oven. So, yeah, we'll mess around with it tomorrow. So this is Saturday morning and here's our skillet. We have restored it. Look how shiny that is. Look how pretty that is. So we are going to use it. So you're going to see this. You're going to see me using it twice because I'd like to put what I'm cooking in it. And it's got to be on my Saturday what I ate today video. But I also want to show it with cooking with this cast iron that we just cleaned up. So we're going to go on and heat it up and get it warmed up and we're going to make us some breakfast. So we're going to take 2 pieces of bacon and we're going to cook them up in our skillet that we have treated for cast iron. We have stripped this cast iron. It was rusty when we got it. And now we're going to go on and start using it. So it's not super hot right now, but I'm going to go ahead and cook some of got our bacon in here, and now I'm going to put my bacon press on it. And it's not heated up all the way, my skillet isn't. I'm just going to let it all kind of heat up at the same time since it's just bacon, and I'll get back with you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and flip it. So our bacon is looking good. It's not sticking much. I mean, a little bit. Any meat that you put in your skillet, the protein is going to stick a little bit. But anyway, so now I'm going to flip it. Okay, let's get back to the food. Focus on the food, Terry. I'll be back. Let's flip them and see what we think here. The more they cook, of course it's going to stick some. But look, they're getting darker. They're getting darker. I like crispy bacon. So I like mine to be like almost burnt. Yep, we got a little curly tail going on here. I'm going to have to hold it down while I set the... There we go. All right. Just got a few more, I don't know, maybe a minute or two, and then we'll be back done with this. Okay, so I feel like it's done, so I'm going to take my bacon press off, and I set it on here, and I'll clean it off later. It's just a place for it to land. So now I'm going to set our bacon on my little plate here. And we're just going to let it cool off. They say bacon is a really good thing to cook first. You know, when you get the cast iron skillet cleaned. Like, I've watched Brenda Gant, and she will actually cook it. That's instead of seasoning hers, she cooks it and then wipes it on the edges and then around the lids and stuff like that. So that's what she does. Now, bacon does have a lower smoke point, so, you know, I've got it hot. But, all right, so I'm going to have 2 eggs we're going to cook in here. And I got my water ready. There's the salt. I should have done this first. Pepper. Salt. Now my water has evaporated. I'm going to add a little bit more water. Just a second here. Alright. And then my lid. And I'll be back in 2 minutes. Alright. Let's see how she did. Now, not all skillets are good with eggs. So let's see how she did. Not bad. Not bad. Some skillets, you can't even scrape the eggs off. And now all my skillets, if I cook anything else before the eggs, they're the same. I got to scrape a little bit to get them out. Because there's already that layer of protein, even whenever it's bacon. So now, let me... Look, I didn't have to scrape hard, and now I'm going to show you how to wash it. Okay, you've seen how I strip my cast iron. You see how I re-season my cast iron, and you see how I cook with the new cast iron. Now, let's show you how I clean my cast iron. I run hot water in it while it's still hot. It's just what I do. You may have your own method, and that's okay. But I want you to look at this. There is nothing that's stuck in there. There's nothing that I'm going to have to scrape out or anything. I just cook bacon and eggs. I use Dawn. Some people don't use stuff, and that's okay. You do what works for you, but I'm doing it my way. I'm doing it my method. Then I got a scrubby brush here. And I scrub it because, in my opinion, the whole point of seasoning a skillet is to create that layer of Teflon, so to speak, the no stick. So we have created that no stick. So now what we've done is we've created something we've covered the skillet so that it no longer has the iron. The iron is no longer the outer surface. The outer surface is the seasoning, which is what protects it from rusting. That's just the information. That's my opinion based on the things that I've watched. We no longer have a skillet that's going to rust, and so, well, I say that. It's no longer, we have a skillet that is basically not going to rust if treated correctly. But anyway, so then I dry it off with the paper towel. Look, see, that's hardly anything on it, which is fine. That's good. Because the more you use it, the more you want to do it. And I'm looking at it and I need to wash it again. There's why. See those things? That's still the protein from the food. So, I don't want to leave food behind. Some people say, oh, that's creating a layer of seasoning. Well, I don't necessarily agree to that. Everybody has their own opinion. Yeah, let's see. Yep. It's coming clear. Or it's coming off. But you shouldn't have to, like, very often. Now, I have had to use a scrubby brush, a wire brush once in a while, but you shouldn't have to very often. And let's see what we think of that. Let me just see. Look at that. Yeah. And I'm showing you that because whenever I first washed this thing, or first cleaned this thing, it was pretty gross. Now I see just a little bit more in the corners. And I want to scrub that out. I didn't get the corners too well. Okay, now, let's go one more round and make sure we got that all out. And so I don't want to leave the meat protein behind, the part that is in the skillet. And once you get it dried off, you can see if you left anything behind. And just, hang on, I got to kind of turn it in the light. Oh yeah, that's good. All right, let me let you see. Now, you can see there's still some places that's because it's where the water was. So, now we're going to dry it off. I'm satisfied with that. My paper towel is clean. And I'm going to show you, we take it over here to my oven again. I set it on my burner and I kick it up to medium. And I say, and I'm actually doing this one as well, my thingy. My bacon press. And I say, Ziggy, oven timer, 10 minutes.
Oven timer, 10 minutes, starting now.
And then we come back, and whenever she says, I'll show you what we're doing after she's done. The purpose of what we're doing right now is heating it up. Well, we're drying out the iron. We're just drying it, so then that way, sometimes I add oil just to put a little moisture back in it. Sometimes I don't, but I always dry it for 15 minutes after I wash it, just to get all that moisture out of the iron and out of the seasoning. Now, I am not going to season this. I'm not going to like add oil to it or anything. I just left it face down, and it can cool down with the burner. Now this pan, if I notice that it's starting to get a little bit, if I notice that it's a little bit thin as far as the seasoning goes, I will add a little bit more tallow to it. I don't always do this to my skillets, just sometimes if I feel like it might need a little bit. And since this one is so fresh, I do want to go ahead and do it. So while it's all heated up, I'm going to spread that oil around just to give it an extra little coating. I'll turn off the oven though. You can see that smoking. But I'll spread it around because I'm not trying to start a fire. But anyway, so now I just do that. Like I said, I don't do this every time. Some people do because they want their cast iron to shine. I'm not so worried about it shining. I'm more worried about function. So while it's hot, what it's doing this right now is just going to help it absorb that tallow into it. And anyway, there we go. That is my skillet. Look how pretty that is. So now it's ready to be used another time. But that is how I do my cast iron skillets. Like I said, sometimes I don't season it afterwards. But I don't know if you call it seasoning, greasy, I don't know. Whatever you want to call that. Sometimes, most of the time with my old ones that I've been using for years, I don't do this too very often. But while it's still fresh and that initial coat is still thin, it's not a bad idea to add some. Because then what it's doing is any surface area of the iron where the seasoning may have broken off or flaked off, by doing what I just did, it's just reinforcing it. It's kind of like putting a patch on something. It's just reinforcing that. And so there we go. With the new one, I might do that 2 or 3 times if I feel like it needs it, or I might not. It just depends on how it's working. But there you go. That's how I do a cast iron skillet. And now this cast iron skillet is ready to be used and loved and taken care of for life. And by the way, these things will last hundreds of years. I've got some that are my great-great-grandparents. So these things can last hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, it's iron. They're not going to do anything. So after I do that, my oven is off. I forgot to say this. My oven is off. So now I'm just going to let it cool down to room temperature and just let it chill out. And when it does, it would get hung back up on my rack. That's how I do my cast iron. Okay, bye.